My amplified unit, welcome to the good, the bad, and the ugly of WWE Stomping Grounds pay-per-view 2019. Clearly, this is not your normal mommy and daddy review show. We do things much differently on this channel, and we dissect in full detail every single match. And we discuss the facts and the reality of every single one of those matches and what it means going forward. Now, Pixar stole the emotion out of all of us this weekend. Pixar captivated the entertainment world this weekend when they went ahead and broke up the biggest tag team in the last 25 years, Buzz and Woody. Not to spoil the story or the movie for you, but unless you've been living underneath the rock this weekend, yes, Pixar has broken up Buzz and Woody. Now, we're not asking Vince McMahon to give us some awesome story with some awesome plot twist that drives emotion out of us at the end. No, that would be asking too much out of Vince McMahon. We're just asking Vince McMahon to give us just a little bit of a good story last night. Give us a little bit of a plot twist. Give us something that drives emotion out of us. Give us something to be intrigued about going forward. You ain't got to compete with Pixar, but give us something from this otherwise tragic-looking card, on paper anyway, known as Stomping Grounds. I called it Rematch Grounds. Did Vince McMahon do that for you? When it comes to thinking about a pay-per-view and what a pay-per-view should be, what it should look like, what it should feel like, the things that should happen at a pay-per-view, the wrestling that we should be getting, the moments, the special comebacks, returns, appearances, did you get all of that in last night's pay-per-view? That's in the eye of the beholder. I can personally say, on the surface, it doesn't seem as such. But we're going to go over that together. You and I, all of us, during this review, because that's how we do this. The good, the bad, and the ugly, we're going to go through every single match and dissect it together. And we're going to find out at the end of this review, was it a good, bad, or ugly pay-per-view? Now, for my veteran subscribers, allow me a minute to inform my newer subscribers on the rules of these type of reviews. Number one, every single match gets a tally. Now, this is only for the main card only. No pre-show, no kickoff. Every main show match gets at least one tally. Number two, every ugly will count as two bads when we do the final count of every column at the end of the video. So it is imperative to stay away from uglies, because they will dramatically change the course of this review when we do the final count. Number three, a tiebreaker, and only when there is a tie, and when and if there is a tiebreaker, only then will we go to the kickoff show. And that one match alone, last night it was a triple threat cruiserweight championship match. That one match alone, if there is a tiebreaker in this review, that one match will decide and determine if this was a good, bad, or ugly pay-per-view. Those are the rules. Fairly simple. The only thing left to do, guys, in the words of Triple H or Motorhead, it's time to play the game. And we start this off, we kick it off with Becky Lynch and Lacey Evans in the match one spot. This is a big match on a pay-per-view because this is where you get the ball going. This is where you start and kick off the momentum for the rest of the night. You set the pace, you set the tone. It is a very big responsibility to place on two individuals. They placed it on Becky and Lacey last night, and that was an interesting call. I don't know if that was really the right call or not. Still looking at it Monday morning quarterbacking this morning. I still don't know if that was the right call. They didn't stink the place up, but I don't know if that's the right pace you wanted. The good news here, it was better than their Money in the Bank match. That's not saying a lot, but it was better. It was a 7:07 start time with a 7:19 finish. So this was a 12-minute match. Again, at least better than their Money in the Bank match. It got a bit sloppy toward the end, but the crowd was so into this match, more specifically, really behind Becky Lynch. So the crowd that was in attendance, it wasn't a very big crowd. The whole left side was, well, nearly unpacked, to say the least. We'll get into that more as the review show goes on. But the left side has seen better days in that arena. But the crowd that was in attendance, man, they were really loud from the very beginning. And that made up for any sloppiness that may have been toward the end of this match. Far outweighed it. On top of that, Becky Lynch seemed really energized last night. She seemed to be rolling on all cylinders. Lacey Evans seems to be showing signs of improvement by the week. So that matched up with Becky Lynch's energetic being last night. I really liked the chemistry. I feel the right person won the match in Becky Lynch, and I like the way that she won. Disarmer followed by an immediate tap out. Literally, the moment the disarmer was put on, Lacey tapped out. I love that. Not everybody can be Superman and Wonder Woman. If everybody is Superman and Wonder Woman, then Superman and Wonder Woman ain't so special, are they? It devalues the finish when every single wrestler is staying in the finisher or the submission for 2 to 3 minutes. Everybody can't be doing that shit. So it's really cool to see somebody taking one for the team, do the immediate tap out, especially in Lacey Evans' case, because they had something bigger for Lacey Evans later on in the night, a place where she can really show off her heel persona, and it's in a spot that she's going to be a much bigger focal point. So she loses nothing by an immediate tap out. Just do the deed, move on with the night. You got something bigger planned later on. I love it. And again, this sets up in the future when somebody actually is in the disarmer for 2 or 3 minutes. It makes it more special. It's not devalued. You got to start thinking in those terms. And lately, we've just been in this weird zone where everybody thinks they need to be in a submission hold for 3 minutes. It's just not the case. Everybody can't be Superman. Everybody can't be Wonder Woman. Or it's just not special anymore. So, Becky Lynch seemed to be extra energized last night. Lacey showing signs of improvement. The right person won. I like the immediate tap out. All of that together, guys, can't believe I'm saying this because on paper, before this event even started, I did not think this was going to be anywhere near the good. But this is going into the good column. So right off the bat, we got a good. However, it's not going to last because this has nothing to do with a match. I probably should have done this at the top of the review, but it just dawned on me now, and I'm not going to let Vince McMahon slide away and get away scot-free from this. Last night is a growing trend that we have been seeing for the past several years in WWE. These pay-per-views are not standing out from anything else. They're not feeling special, even though they're called a special event. A pay-per-view can cost up to $50 these days if you don't have the network. Yet, what are you really paying for? It looks like just a glorified Raw or SmackDown. In fact, I'll go one deeper. I'll say it's just a Raw and SmackDown just on a Sunday night. It's not even glorified. A lot of these pay-per-views and special events. You took away Pyro, Vince, because you want to spend all your money on the XFL. You stopped giving a shit about theming and staging, so you just have every single theme the Monday Night Raw and SmackDown theme. None of the pay-per-views look or feel different, and that pays off dividends in the overall vibe and atmosphere from those in attendance and all of us watching at home. Your lack of giving a shit, Vince McMahon, that is what is putting your very own tally. Has nothing to do with a match, but you are getting a bad, and I'm being generous because you should be getting an ugly 10 times over. And this might be a new thing, guys. Every single pay-per-view, I might just give Vince McMahon his very own tally in the bad, and if I'm really in a funk or a bad mood, I'm going to give him his own tally in the ugly section. But until pay-per-views start feeling like pay-per-views, start looking like pay-per-views, Vince McMahon himself will have his own tally, because I'm fed up with that bullshit. You can't have pyro just for pay-per-views. You can't change your theming of the ramp and the Titantron and the LEDs and all that. You can't change it up. Come on, bro. You can put in more effort. You choose not to because you're putting all of your time, energy, and resources, especially financially, into the XFL. Well, that's not good enough for us pro wrestling fans, more specifically WWE. Pull your head out of your ass and start doing better. So Vince gets his own bad. So we started off pretty decently with the first match. It went into the good column. But Vince McMahon himself, and not caring, not giving a shit about his product, he gets his very own bad. Now we can proceed on to match number 2. This was Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus Big E and Xavier Woods. Kind of an exhibition match that nobody cared about at first. But when the match was over, we were kind of like, that was pretty fucking good. This was a 7:27 start time with an end bell at 7:39. So for the second match in a row, this was a 12-minute match only. But you wouldn't have known it because these 4 men did a lot in those 12 minutes. It actually felt longer because there was so much action. Even though it was a nonsensical rematch, that was one of the best tag team matches that I've seen in a long time on the main roster. That's an exact quote from my Twitter machine. Because it was a nonsensical match, but clearly one of the best tag team matches I've seen in a long time on that main roster. And who would have thunk it would come between Zayn, Owens, and Big E and Xavier? We know they're capable of putting on such a match, but we're just not used to seeing that anymore in WWE. In fact, the tag team division for the past several years has been so tragic that now I can honestly say I cannot stand tag team wrestling. Because tag team wrestling in WWE has been in such a funk. But if that's what you're going to give me, shit, I'll take more of that. Please, sir, can I have some more? I'll take that. And you can't even give Vince McMahon the credit. You can't even say, hey, Vince gave them the time and they performed. Vince didn't give them shit. Vince gave them 12 minutes. 7:27, it started, to 7:39. This was just 4 individuals that know how to wrestle, damn good at what they do, and they went out there and made sure that they were the talk of the town. And in those 12 minutes, a lot of us could be saying this morning that that was one of, if not the match of the night in terms of wrestling. Damn good wrestling match. It ended with Owens with a stunner. Owens delivered a stunner, and that was a 1-2-3. So kind of an abrupt finish. But again, when Vince is yelling in your ear, end it, go home, go home. You're at the 12-minute mark. We're not going to give you another minute. They had to go home with the stunner. And that's awesome for Zayn and Owens. They really needed that victory because I don't even think Sami Zayn had a victory since he's been back on the main roster. And Owens, this guy has been misused and utilized since he's been in WWE, you could say, even when he held straps. So it was really good to see them with the victory. I just don't know where we go from there. Zayn and Owens is a tag team we've already seen in the past, and we've kind of went through and down every avenue with them. That's why they had to eventually split up. So now, just because they don't have anything for Owens or Zayn, they're just going to throw them back together? Unless they're going to be putting on matches like that all the time, I don't know if any of us need to or want to see that. Anyway, that's in the future. Last night, that match, again, many would say, me included, wrestling-wise, match of the night. That's going into the good column. So, if it wasn't for Vince McMahon, we'd have a clean slate right now of just 2 in the good. First 2 matches are in the books, and that's 2 goods right off the bat. Now, Stomping Grounds on paper look like a travesty. So at this point, we're all thinking, what's going on here? We're going into the 3rd match, and this has not been a shit show. Can the 3rd match continue to deliver? Let's find out. The 3rd match was the United States strap match. This was Samoa Joe, the United States title holder, taking on challenger Ricochet. The start time was 7:45, end time came at 7:58, so we broke the 2-match 12-minute streak. The 3rd match gave us 13 minutes. So at least Vince gave him an extra minute. Who knows? Maybe he went to go get an extra protein bar or something and they mistimed it by a minute. Maybe that was supposed to be 12 minutes. But they gave Ricochet and Joe an extra minute. This was a very physical match between these two. Much more physical than I originally thought they would put on. There's just something really cool about seeing 2 really good wrestlers being able to put on a really good wrestling match. Imagine that. Crazy concept, right? But that's what they did last night, man. And again, it was extra physical, I felt, between these two. And when it was all said and done, Ricochet ended up landing the 630 splash to not only win this match, but to end Samoa Joe's title reign, as lackluster as it was, and to begin his new U.S. Championship title reign. Ricochet is the new champion of the United States. This is really awesome for Ricochet. Anybody who knows what he's been through knows that he's more than deserving to hold such a title. And it's awesome that they're letting or giving him the ball and seeing how far he runs with it. I just feel like in many situations in life, one man's success is another man's failure. I feel like Samoa Joe is capable of so much more than what he is being allowed to showcase in WWE. WWE, I can speak. I feel like there's a disconnect between Vince McMahon and Samoa Joe, and I don't think Vince McMahon understands Samoa Joe. Because when you look at Joe, on the mic, he's one of the best in WWE today. Physically, his appearance and his just overall being is dominant. His presence. In the ring, his skill level, pristine. The guy's nearly the total package, yet he's always an afterthought. He's basically irrelevant, even when he had a championship like the US strap. He was basically in even more obscurity with the title. He just never gets the time of day. Even when they give him a decent storyline, he hits it out of the park with a grand slam, but he still doesn't win the big match. It's like Bray Wyatt. You'll give him good storylines, but you'll never give him a big victory. Consciously, you may not be thinking this, but in the subconscious, we're always taking inventory of stuff like that. And eventually what happens in a fan's mind is they're going to say, this guy's basically just a loser. He talks a big game, but he's a loser. Subconsciously, we're always taking inventory, just like we did with Bray Wyatt. Same with Samoa Joe. They can talk a good game, we can know they're good in the ring, but if they keep losing, nobody's going to take them seriously in big-time fights and matches. That, I feel, is where we're at with Samoa Joe. If this guy doesn't win big matches going forward, Samoa Joe is done, ruined in the WWE. Telling you right now, guys, it's already happening. It's been happening. So it's awesome for Ricochet. I just don't know what it does for Samoa Joe. You know, or more tragically, I do know what it does for Samoa Joe, and it's not good. But what is good is the fact that this was a decent match with just 13 minutes, very physical, and it was really cool to see Ricochet hoist up that strap, and that they're actually giving him the ball and seeing how far he'll run with it. So this match goes into the good column. The goods far outweighed the bads in this scenario. And it was cool to see them actually go backstage, and we kind of celebrated with Ricochet in gorilla position. They pulled back the curtain on the fourth wall, and they let us celebrate with Ricochet in gorilla. That's what usually happens when you win a championship or you have a big moment in the arena, in that ring. You go backstage, and all the superstars and even Vince McMahon, the suits and ties, they're kind of congratulating you at gorilla position. Well, that's what they showed us with Ricochet. So that was pretty cool, you know? So anyway, yeah, man, 3 matches in, and we got 3 goods. The only bad so far is just Vince McMahon not caring about pay-per-views anymore. Just like he really, as a whole, doesn't care about WWE anymore. So, but I'm no longer giving him a pass on pay-per-views. They have to start feeling and looking more special than they are. They don't, and that's why he went into the bad. Other than that, match-wise, we're 3 into the books, and we got 3 in the good column. Can we keep this momentum going? I don't know. Let's find out. Match 4. This was the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match. Daniel Bryan and Rowan versus Heavy Machinery. Start time 8:05, end bell 8:19. A 14-minute match. First 2 were 12, then we went in the third match at 13 minutes, and now we went up another minute. Maybe Vince needed another protein bar and a bathroom break, but he allowed this match to go 14 minutes. How dare he? Despite nearly the entire left side of the arena being completely empty, the crowd was loud as fuck. Behind Daniel Bryan, more specifically, who's from the area, sort of. Seattle, I believe, correct? We had old school Daniel Bryan chants. We even had please recycle chants, some vegan chants. We had it all. So the crowd, or lack thereof, was having a ton of fun during this match. And that's always contagious to the crowd watching at home. So that's always good to see. But then something crazy ended up happening. Because that can get annoying after a while, right? You do want them to kind of focus on a match if it's actually a good match, or at least okay. You want them to give them the respect that these wrestlers deserve. And the match actually started to get good, and you realize that from the crowd as well, because the crowd stopped all the crazy chants, and they started paying close attention move for move during this match. So the match went from what was a nonsensical exhibition circus match, that's how I looked at it as well on paper, to something that was actually entertaining. They were actually clicking. It was working. And the final 5 minutes at least of this match, man, we were all kind of just watching along and entertained. It was cool. In the end, Bryan gets a roll-up, so it's simplistic. I wish there was more, absolutely. I still don't know what this match was really about. I know, BC, it's for the tag titles, man. They're giving Heavy Machinery an opportunity. Yeah, but out of nowhere. Heavy Machinery just had 2 jobber matches in the last couple weeks. One team was an actual jobber team, the Yolo County Tag Champions. And then last week was the B team. And then all of a sudden, they're in a tag team championship match. It's awesome they're giving them the chance, but can we go about business differently? Can we make these championship matches seem and feel more important before they actually hit the ring? Let's try that in the future, Vince. So, to me, it was just a nonsensical exhibition match, like I know it was to most of us. So to have it end so simplistically, I wish there was more. But the match itself over-delivered for me. I was not expecting anything out of this match, as I'm sure most of us were not. So there's nothing there that can obviously go into the bad, nowhere near ugly. There's no place for me to put this other than the good. Again, the crowd was into it, at first just having a ton of fun. They loved D-Bry, and then they just started really enjoying the action, as we did at home. So again, in a weird way, another exhibition nonsensical tag match, even if they were for the straps, it was nonsensical, if you think about it, kind of ended up delivering and helped this pay-per-view out. Who would have thunk it? So 4 matches into this thing, and we got 4 goods. Vince McMahon remains the only bad in this whole thing. Can we keep this momentum going, man? Because we are on a hot streak at a card that we did not think we were going to be seeing this type of reaction on this review show, man. Stomping Grounds, I never thought I'd be seeing this. 4 in and 4 goods. The 5th match, oh boy, this is where the empire could be crumbling down. This was the SmackDown Women's title. This was Bayley, the champion, taking on challenger Alexa Bliss. Start time 8:28, end bell 8:38. This was just 10 minutes long and probably for the best. This was better than their 2017 Extreme Rules match, which I still rate till this very day, 30 plus years watching this product. I still rate that Extreme Rules match in 2017 between Bayley and Alexa as one of the worst matches I've ever seen in my life. So at least this was better than that. But just like Becky and Lacey from Money in the Bank last night, that's not saying a lot that the rematch was better. I would hope so. Learn from your mistakes and improve. So it was better than their 2017 Extreme Rules match for sure, but far from an entertaining match. For sure. These two are fun on the mic, going back and forth. There's a chemistry there because you can play on a lot of real life shit if you want to, and they did a little bit last week on Raw or SmackDown. Well, I think it was SmackDown, really. But you can play on that real life scenario. There is a little, I'm not saying hatred, but there is a disconnect between the two, and they played off that leading into this match. I just feel that on the mic, that's one thing. In the ring, these two just don't click. They don't. That's the truth. There had to be something more of importance, something of substance, something to talk about coming out of this match this morning, and it just wasn't done. We got nothing of real substance last night, nothing of importance, and nothing to really talk about this morning from that match last night. There's nothing. Other than a belly to belly to Alexa, and Bayley retains. That's it. No real interference or turn by Nikki Cross. Obviously, there was no Sasha Banks return, nor would I put her back in a Bayley storyline anyway, but I know some people were hoping for a Sasha return in that moment. I knew that wasn't going to happen. But not even a Nikki turn, or not even like Nikki really playing a significant role, a little bit of interference, but nothing of significance. It was just a belly to belly, and Alexa's like, what? Huh? And Bayley's like, yeah, bitch. That was it. All of that, a rematch from 2017's Extreme Rules, which sucked anyway. All of the plethora of talent you have in that women's division today, and all of this was to see Alexa Bliss and Bayley for that? Hell no. Vince, you got company. We got another bad. This time, this was an actual match going into the bad. Listen, I've grown fond of Alexa Bliss. I really have. I think Bayley, this is the best Bayley we have seen since NXT. There's this new confidence in Bayley. I love it. Alexa Bliss, if you guys saw that 365 after Stomping Grounds went off the air, if you didn't like Alexa Bliss before, check out that 365 special on the network. You will have a newfound respect for her. And I already started to see signs of respect that I was kind of having for her. There was something about Alexa that I'm starting to actually dig. But never would I tell you that she should have been in that situation. There is a plethora of females right now that could use that spot and are deserving of it. So this is literally no shade to Bayley or Alexa. It just didn't click last night. And there was nothing of significance or importance stemming from it going forward. We don't have any direction for these two. Or three even. You can include a Nikki Cross. What did this do for storytelling in the future? Nothing. We gonna get another Bayley and Alexa match? Are we gonna get Bayley and Nikki Cross tonight on Raw? Or SmackDown? There's no brand split. It could be any day of the week now. I'm not gonna explain it anymore. That is the first match that's actually going into the bad column. Just didn't click. Nope. Needed more from that, guys. I can't give every match a mulligan. And the only way I'm going to do that is if the wrestling is really good. I can't say that in that match. Let's go on to match 6. Let's try to get things back on the upswing, the uphill. Oh boy, I don't know if I can do that actually. It's Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre. This is a rematch from WrestleMania that was only 10 minutes long and nobody cared about. And we knew how this match was going to end. We knew Drew was just going to eat another L here. And Drew cannot afford another L because just like my aforementioned Samoa Joe way of thinking is in the subconscious, we see that too often. We're going to start looking at these people as losers, no matter what game they talk, no matter how good their talk is. When it's time to walk the walk, we're going to look at them as jokes. So I didn't like on paper this match even happening because Drew should not be in this type of situation. Anyway, let's go over the match itself. Start time was 8:51. End bell was 9:09. This was an 18-minute match. Thus far, the longest match of the night. Not surprised. That's Vince McMahon's golden boy, Roman Reigns, so he wants to make sure that he's out there and giving his full arsenal. Superman punch and spears galore. Not even 5 minutes into this match, and we got a loud, "This is awful" chant. So the crowd in attendance, that up to that point was actually pretty hot. I think the Alexa Bayley match might have brought them down a bit, and then all of a sudden they got a Drew and Roman match that they are forced on. So I think right off the bat, they weren't even waiting 4 or 5 minutes. They were immediately just yelling out, "This is awful." My question to Vince is, what did he think the reaction was going to be? Honestly. He had to have known this, and if he didn't know that was coming, then he's more out of touch than we originally thought, if that's even possible. But then, in all fairness, they ended up having a fucking good match. They really did. I'll be the first to admit that. I can't even say this. Yeah, I guess I would say second half. I mean, around the 8-9 minute mark, this match started to come alive. And they ended up having a good match. I'll admit it. Way better than their WrestleMania match, but that's the theme of the night. It's a card full of rematches. You're hoping these rematches are better than their originators. So, better than their WrestleMania match. They did a good job making Roman the underdog of this match, having Shane McMahon drag the official out of the ring and hit a coast-to-coast on Roman when the ref was out. This, of course, gained sympathy for Roman. Roman hulks up, and he hits a Superman punch and the spear combo on Drew, and that's all she wrote. Drew loses again. Roman Reigns with the victory. So, the first half of this match, the crowd is disengaged, just like we were at home. Unless you're a diehard Roman Reigns fan, you were pretty much disengaged. And it was kind of slow-paced, and they weren't vibing. The first half, The second half ended up being really good. I don't know about really good. Pretty damn good, anyway. It was a good second half of this match. So that equaled out the first half. So I have no problem with the wrestling match as a whole. Which is saying something, because on paper I was like, no, this is going to be a fucking travesty just like the WrestleMania match. But it ended up equaling out. We'll say it was a decent match. That's fine. Now we look at the substance to the match to find out which category it goes into. What was the finish, and how did this help the superstars telling their stories going forward? Well, Drew loses. He's pretty much finished. How do you save Drew now? The guy has talked all of this bullshit twice now about Roman, and he looks like a clown eating an L twice. And that's with help from Shane McMahon, by the way. That's not even one-on-one. And you're telling me, don't worry, BC, they'll make Drew a big force going forward. I would love to see when that's going to come, and how our subconscious is just going to be erased of that notion that he keeps losing the big matches. That is devastating for him. Roman picks up the W. What's that going to do for Roman? Where does he go now? He just keeps on picking off all the people now that should be getting some momentum. We've seen this for 4 years. It's not going to gain to all of us going, wow, Roman's the biggest dog in the yard. No. You're never going to get the full audience to do that. Change this guy up. See what he's got as a heel maybe, or give him a different side or avenue to his character. A different aspect. We're just seeing the same bullshit. People getting fed to Roman. They start going on to the fucking irrelevant fucking assembly line. And Roman goes on to the next. And the 50-50 reactions. Sometimes the arenas don't give him any reaction. You're going to get this is awful in the first 5 minutes. I've seen this movie every single fucking day for the past 4 years. This did nothing for anyone going forward. Unapologetically, this goes into the bad. You just gave us a rematch from WrestleMania, and nothing even came from it. There was no story to be derived from this rematch. It was just, hey, I'm lazy, we just had Super Showdown, let's just give them the same fucking cards that we've had in the past. Roman and Drew will do for Mania. We'll do Becky and Lacey for Money in the Bank. We'll do Bayley and Alexa from Extreme Rules 2017. We'll give them Kofi and Dolph from Showdown. We'll give them Baron and Seth from Showdown. If you're gonna do that, you better have a reason. There better be a badass ending and a vision for the future that the fans can immediately see at the conclusion of that match. Come on, bro. That's the best you got? Drew McIntyre getting speared and eating another L? You needed Drew in that spot? You already had this guy take the L off of Roman at WrestleMania. You needed him to eat it again? Do you hate this guy that much that you had to force him to eat 2 L's to this guy on pay-per-views? I'm talking way too much about it and getting frustrated. That goes in the bad. Again, that's unapologetically. So, unfortunately, we hit a little bit of a rut. After 4 matches in a row in the good, 2 ended up going right into the bad. Can we get back on track? Let's try. This is match number 7 of the night, and this was the WWE Championship. Kofi Kingston, your champion, taking on Dolph Ziggler, the challenger. A rematch from just a couple of weeks ago at Super Showdown. I have to call it down the middle. If I'm going to say that Roman and Drew needed more, a bigger finish, more impactful for the vision of the future, then I have to say the same for Kofi and Dolph. This is another rematch. Vince has to show us that this is more than just lazy booking. We'll just give it to them again. Same match. We'll have them wrestle some wrestling, and then we'll have somebody win. No, you better give us more because we've already seen this. So I'm going to call this without any mulligans being offered. Start time was 9:20. End bell 9:40. This was the longest match of the night thus far at 20 minutes long. This was inside of a steel cage. Listen, I'm going to hit you with the truth here. This was a decent match inside of a steel cage. Nothing more. Nothing more. This was your big championship rematch in a steel cage. And all this was a decent match. Decent match inside of that cage. Cool finish with Kofi diving over Ziggler and through the ropes, catapulting him through the cage door and winning the match, retaining the championship, Kofi Kingston. But what was it all for is my underlining question to this whole pay-per-view. Just lazy booking from start to finish. A rematch from Super Showdown with the same result. That is lazy booking. They got creative with the absolute last part of the finish with Kofi diving through the door. But it was just a decent match in a cage with Dolph not showing or proving anything. What was this all for? It's a sorry, not sorry type scenario. I feel bad doing that because I have so much respect for the superstars. But sometimes, I can't even say that. If I'm being truthful, all the time, when we do these good, the bad, and the ugly reviews, it's a mixture of everything. That's why we dissect the matches. We dissect it because we're looking at the wrestlers themselves, the characters going into it, the wrestling match, the actual wrestling, the story being told, and what it tells going forward, and the creative and booking behind the match. Every area has to be checked off when we finally put a tally in one of these columns. If we're being truthful, this match didn't do anything for anybody. It's not a match that we're talking about this morning and going, wow, what a championship match in a cage. And I'm no longer giving Vince McMahon mulligans, man. These are pay-per-views. Start acting like it. If that was a really good wrestling match, then maybe I put that in the good. It was a decent wrestling match inside of a cage. Kofi and Ziggler can do a lot more. If anything, I feel the steel cage hindered them. If you're going to give them 20 minutes, just let them go out there and do what they can do. Some of the best in the world. So maybe the steel cage kind of hindered them. Either way, unapologetically, that's another bad. So after 4 in a row good, 3 in a row joined Vince McMahon in the bad column. It's a shame, man. You know, when it's sitting in their lap, it's a pay-per-view. You should be enjoying creating this. You should be having fun creating this. The writers should be having the time of their life. Vince McMahon should be thinking the most creative shit he could possibly do. And instead, his head is so far up the XFL's ass, it's not even funny. The writers are so miserable because they have to deal with Vince McMahon. And everyone's just putting together a shit show with no real creativity. That was really the card, guys. We go into the main event now. Match number 8 was the main event, Universal Championship. Seth Rollins, the champion, taking on Baron Corbin, challenger. The special guest referee, when it was all said and done, was Lacey Evans. I know this made a lot of people miserable off the gate. Even the Amplified Man thought it was going to be maybe Brock Lesnar. But it was Lacey. Now, a lot of people are just, bitching and complaining about Lacey last night and being the special guest referee. But watching this product for 30 years, I'm going to tell you guys something. She was a rock star in this match. She held her own. She looked like she belonged. She looked good in the referee outfit. She was walking around as sassy as ever and just, it worked. I liked it. There was definitely a cool little different aspect in having Lacey Evans as a special referee. And that's why Michael Cole throughout the night kept saying Becky Lynch, the girlfriend of Seth Rollins, and Seth Rollins is the boyfriend of Becky Lynch, to an annoying level. It seemed like he was saying that a bunch, but that was the setup in everyone's mind that Lacey Evans has this beef with Becky. Lacey just tapped out to Becky earlier in the night. Baron picked Lacey for Becky's boyfriend's match. In that title match, it kind of made sense. It was a layer that I want to see more of in WWE. It's a story being told. Now, I understand a lot of people out there in social media land, it's not the story that they wanted told, but listen, beggars can't be choosers. At least they decided to tell a story in this match. Fuck. Again, sometimes it's not the story you want to be told. But Lacey was a rock star. I'm going to give her credit here. She was a rock star last night, man. She belonged, or she looked like she belonged in that match as the special guest referee. Now to the actual match itself. Start time was 9:56, end bell 10:15. This was a 19-minute match. And again, Lacey was the rock star in this match as a special guest referee. She played the antagonist beautifully, declaring a no countout and a no disqualification during the match in favor of Corbin. So again, the story being told, Seth Rollins really looked like the underdog here. Like all of the deck was stacked against him. Lacey even smacked the taste out of Seth Rollins' mouth twice in this match. Smacked the yellow off his teeth, the taste out of his mouth. And then delivered a low blow to Rollins. This brought out Becky Lynch, the girlfriend of Seth, in case Michael Cole didn't get that through to you last night. Becky Lynch comes out, takes out Lacey. Rollins stomps Corbin with the new ref, John Cone, now inside the ring. And John Cone counts 1, 2, 3 after the stomp. Rollins overcomes the odds and celebrates with his girlfriend. In case you didn't hear Cole mention it 57 times last night, it's Becky Lynch. So they're really playing up this new power couple in Lynch and Rollins. I see a mixed tag team match either tonight on Raw or tomorrow on SmackDown or at Extreme Rules in a few weeks in Philadelphia. But I see a mixed tag match coming with Corbin and Lacey versus Becky and Seth. I don't want to see that because I don't need to. What the fuck is that going to do? Is that really going to entertain you? So I don't even like where this is going future-wise. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. Listen, this match was okay because of all of the bells and whistles. That's the truth. That's the only thing that made this match okay. The bells and whistles. Lacey Evans walking around, stomping around, sassier than ever, calling no count out, calling no disqualification, smacking Seth Rollins twice, a low blow, the interaction with Baron Corbin, frustrating and infuriating Seth Rollins, Becky Lynch coming out afterwards, John Cone finally coming in and counting the 3 count. All of this, the celebration post-match with Becky and Seth, showing the world that they're the new power couple. All of these bells and whistles tried to hide the fact that Baron Corbin and Seth Rollins was the main event of a pay-per-view in 2019 for WWE. Not only is it a rematch from your WrestleMania equivalent, supposedly, that's what Super Showdown was billed at. So we just saw this match 2 weeks ago at Super Showdown. So not only is it a rematch, but it's also your main event of this first ever Stomping Grounds pay-per-view. For what? You better be pulling off something epic in this then, for this to be the pay-per-view rematch. And in the main event, something huge is planned, right? Yeah, something huge. Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins in the middle of the ring celebrating together. If it wasn't for the bells and whistles, you know I'm right. This would be a travesty. I'm being generous and not putting this in the ugly column. It sure as hell is not going into the good. This was bad, and that is a full tally in the bad. That is a full 5. Thanks a lot, Vince McMahon. And anyone who's like, BC, I don't know, man, that main event. Listen, I'm with you. I'm giving you all of the accolades here. Lacey Evans looked like a rock star in that position. The bells and whistles were actually entertaining for what it's worth. But I'm no longer giving mulligans here, man. There has to be more thought put into this. Aside from the bells and whistles, what's the big finish that's going to have all of us talking the next morning? That's what a pay-per-view should have. It's called a cliffhanger. Movies have it. TV shows have it. Everything has it. If you're in the entertainment industry, you have cliffhangers. What's your cliffhanger? Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins celebrating and we might get a mixed tag match in the future? Come on, bro. That's supposed to put this in the good column? Absolutely not. There's no fucking way possible. I don't even need to. I just threw away the fucking marker. I had to put the fucking final tallies in. But you know what? It's obvious. I don't need to fucking put anything into the final tally because you see for yourselves that by one fucking tally, this pay-per-view will go down amplified style as a bad pay-per-view. Just barely. I guess that's saying something because on paper this looked like it was going to be the worst pay-per-view in the history of WWE. It actually wasn't. It didn't even get an ugly. So that's something to look forward to, or at least be high on. I don't know if it's something to look forward to, not with WWE, but it's something to be a little higher on as far as hopes. I mean, they didn't give us anything ugly that I felt. There was good. 4 matches. Half the card I felt was good. But the other half I didn't feel was good. I put it in the bad. Vince McMahon alone made this pay-per-view bad because it didn't feel like a pay-per-view just like all the other pay-per-views in the past several years. And until that gets fixed, Vince McMahon could be the deciding factor in the rest of these reviews because I'm sick of that bullshit. So you can blame Vince on this, not the Amplified Man. Vince forced this to happen. Unfortunately, Stomping Grounds pay-per-view 2019 was a bad pay-per-view. That's the good, the bad, and the ugly. As always, no matter what we mark it or grade it as, I thank all of the performers, all the boys and gals last night for going out there, putting their bodies on the line for us. We respect you, we love you, and we can't wait to see you in action in the future. Thank you so much. As always, this is always for pure entertainment, breaking it down, having fun, and trying to drop facts and truth like nobody else can on this platform. Hopefully, we did all of that in this review video. Much love and respect to you guys. We'll go on to Raw tonight, and I'll see you in the morning for the Raw review and reaction. The Amplified Man, see and check you. Yeah, look at that. Yeah.